It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Minnesota Golden Gophers Director of Women's Ice Hockey Operations, Jessica Scott. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Brandon. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get involved in college athletics, particularly on the ice hockey side?
Yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to work in sport for the majority of my adult career, I guess my professional career. And so I think at the beginning I was more interested in the coaching side of things, and as time went on, it sort of shifted into a little bit more administrative interest level for me. So this job in particular at Minnesota wasn't necessarily on my radar, but it was kind of a right place, right time opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
What was your time like at St. Thomas University?
As a student athlete or coaching?
As a student athlete and coaching?
Sure. So I played two sports at St. Thomas. I played soccer and women's hockey, obviously. Had a great experience, a lot of lifelong friends, obviously, as I think anyone would say of their collegiate experience, but just a really good fit for me. It was nice and close to home. I live about 20 minutes away from there. Great school, great athletic program, and super excited to see them move up to Division I, by the way. But no, it was a really good experience for me. Dealt with some injury and adversity, excuse me. And just, kind of had that feel like this was the right place. So nothing but good things to say for sure.
What was it like, obviously, being a consultant for the Showcase Hockey?
So Tim Hawkinson, who at the time was the owner of Showcase Hockey, had approached me about helping with some teams that he was sending to Europe, some U18 or U22 teams he was bringing over to Europe. And so that's kind of how that relationship formed. And over time, we just had some shared interests and, common ideas, I guess, as far as, whether that be tournaments or teams or running programming. We just had a lot in common and thought the same way in terms of how things should be done. So it was a natural fit as far as a working relationship goes. And he was gracious enough to bring me on and let me do some work while I was coaching. So it was a good fit.
What was it like, obviously, being the director at the Dynamite Prep League?
So Dynamite Prep was actually a fall high school league that I started. I'd run a league previously that was similar, and working with Tim at Showcase, we ventured off and started our own. It was a great experience. I think the more opportunities, the better for young players. And this was obviously prior to coming to Minnesota, but it was just a good opportunity for me to build relationships and work with a lot of different players and communities and, get involved with youth and high school programs at the time.
How was it like, obviously, going back to your alma mater to be assistant coach?
I'm still so grateful for that opportunity. I really pinpoint that probably as kind of the kickstart of my career in hockey. Kevin Gorg at the time was our head coach. He was my coach when I played as well. And he brought me back at a pretty young age. I want to say I was maybe 24 or 25. And so to be that age and coaching women's college hockey is pretty rare, I think, but it was a great opportunity for me. I learned a ton. You're not too far removed from that program. And so I think it taught me a lot about those boundaries of being a coach and being a friend and trying to figure that all out, but really ignited my passion for coaching for sure.
What was it like, obviously, coaching ice hockey on the high school level at Cropper Rapper?
At Coon Rapids.
Mm-hmm.
So Coon Rapids is also, Coon Rapids is where I went to high school. So, back then I could proudly say the only places that I've coached are the two places that I played and went to school. And I really love that and felt strongly about that. But that was also my first opportunity to be a head coach. And so I'm super grateful for that opportunity as well. But high school was just a great fit for me. I loved the community feel. I loved the teenage high school experience where those kids are at in life, and just the passion that they bring every day to the game. And you're playing big games, and you're playing with kids that you grew up with and your neighborhood friends, and it was a really good experience. We went to the state tournament my first year, and we had some years that weren't so great as well, but it was just trying to find that balance of making sure those kids had a good experience regardless of the results.
What was it like coaching, obviously both high schools, and then obviously going into college coaching?
So I moved on to Wayzata. I had been at Coon Rapids for 5 years. I moved on to Wayzata High School for another 3 years. Just a very good, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be done. I thought maybe I wanted to try something else. And, certainly a very different experience in a lot of ways, but the same core principles of, your neighborhood, your community kids, just a real deep passion for getting to that state tournament. And I've still remained in contact with many of those players that I've coached for all those years. So I loved that experience. And then I actually had kind of come to the conclusion that I wanted to be done coaching. I had I think it was 3 or 4-year-old at the time, and just felt like it was maybe my time to get out. It's coaching high school or prep hockey is a tough climate, as you know. It's tough being a coach. And so I thought maybe this was a good time to try something else. And ironically, about 2 or 3 months later is when the Minnesota job opened up, and threw my name in the hat, and here we are. So it's kind of like I said, a right time, right opportunity.
What was it like in 2019, obviously coming to Minnesota to become the director of women hockey operations?
It's been great. I still feel so incredibly blessed and just grateful, humbled, honestly, to be here. And you walk around campus and you see such incredible people. And I always tell people that this environment just makes you want to be better all the time. Everybody is so good at what they do, and they're always striving to continue to improve. And so I love being in that environment. It's been great for my family. It's a pretty awesome way for a little kid who's 7 years old now, but to grow up and hanging out with players in some of these facilities. So, and then for me professionally, it's provided an opportunity for me to further my education a little bit, and look down the road, maybe what the next steps might be. But this has definitely been I would put it in the life changer category of experiences for sure.
What are some of your roles and responsibilities, obviously, with the Minnesota team?
A little bit of everything, to be honest, which is one of the things I love the most. My days are very different. I do, in a nutshell, director of ops is going to do, your budgeting, your meals, your travel, anything almost that's not coaching is probably going to fall on my plate or pass through my office at least. So it sounds really daunting, but it's like everything else. You get into a routine, and it's just super fun. It's a little chaotic at times, but it's such a perfect transitional role from coaching, because you still, you're still in the locker room. You still can jump on the ice and like be involved in that way, but you're not rating the lineup for one thing. So everybody loves you because you feed them. So you're in that place, but it just gives me such an opportunity to work with so many different people and get to do so many different things.
What does a typical day and game day look like, obviously, as a director of ice hockey relations?
Yeah, so a game day for us, we get up in the morning. There's gonna be 3 meals, so we'll start with that. There's get up in the morning, make sure they get breakfast. We'll have a pregame skate, and then they'll kind of go back and do their thing for a while. Depending on what time the game is, will dictate when the pregame meal is. It's not always a lunchtime. Sometimes it's a 2 or 3 o'clock, if we're playing in the evening. So be a pregame meal, maybe some meetings mixed in, and just kind of, everybody has their own routine. So then we'll play the game, and then we'll have a post-game meal after that. If we're on the road, then you bring in, a lot of different travel logistics and hotels and things like that. But you get settled in pretty quickly.
Of course, what is it like, obviously, planning out your road trips?
Yeah, so it depends on where we're going. Here at Minnesota, we're fortunate that the majority of our conference is a bus ride away, with the exception of Ohio State, which we would fly to. And then, we're playing 6 non-conference games a year as well, which one or two of those may also be a flight away. So this year in particular, we went to Nashville over Thanksgiving. And then we hosted a non-conference series. And then we'll go to Columbus here in a couple of weeks. But for me, we're lucky that we have an actual travel resource here on campus. So while I'm kind of setting up the goals or the parameters for what we want to do, she actually does a lot of that work as far as scheduling the flights, or we have the same with the hotels. We'll have a person that is kind of a representative for us that will take into consideration what we're looking for and maybe a price range we want to be in and give us some options. So just making a lot of decisions in that way, and then lining up the meals and the buses and, getting all of that figured out to make sure we're running as smoothly as possible.
Of course, how was it like last year, obviously, as the director of operations, due with COVID and stuff, always having to reschedule and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to do a lot of that firsthand, but it was certainly a challenge, and it was a challenge for everyone. I don't think it was really all that fun for anybody, to be honest, and non-athletics included. But it was just hard for our players because you're going into a game weekend and you never know if you're even going to play. And so it was mentally taxing. It was obviously a challenge from a health perspective for everyone, first and foremost. And then I feel bad for our athletic trainer. I always joke with her that I need to check in just to make sure she didn't quit, just because it's so taxing on them. But, we kind of just decided we're going to take this one day at a time. We're going to do it together, and we're going to get through it the best way we can and try to control what we can control.
The official visit look like as a director of operations?
That can vary as well. It depends, certainly if you're dealing with a committed player or a kid you're trying to get, if you have one kid or multiple kids or different things like that. But biggest thing for us is we want to show off our campus. We want to show off our hockey program and give them a glimpse into what we're all about, make sure they're seeing all the facilities, and they're going to meet with academics and meet with our strength coach and just try to answer any questions that they might have, but ultimately it's about just giving them a look at what their experience would be like if they came to Minnesota.
What are some of your favorite memories and moments as a director of operations for hockey?
Well, in my almost 3 years now, we haven't been in a NCAA tournament game. So I hope those are going to be my big memories going forward. But my first year of the tournament was canceled right before it started due to COVID. And then last year we did not make it, actually. So I'm excited for that coming up. But, certainly wins against Wisconsin and Ohio State and some of those big programs are very high up on the list. It was special for me to play St. Thomas this past weekend. Not only is that, where I played, it was special to see them now competing at this level and in what we think is the best conference in the country. But also just, you have some good friends on the other side coaching and on staff. So things like that are just, at this point in my life, those are the things that kind of stick out as memorable for sure.
What is something that you learn now that you didn't know before working in college athletics?
I think just I try number one, I tend to put a lot of things on my plate. So I'm trying to be better about delegating and, involving other people and doing that. But I think just the need to be flexible and kind of roll with the punches a little bit. You can be as organized as you want and be ready to go in every way, but there's always going to be something that comes up. And so kind of the ability to just think on your feet and be creative and find an alternate solution in some of those instances is important. And then next, I guess I was going to say secondly, but I think maybe most importantly is it's a lot about relationships, right? And just earning trust and building respect, building a rapport with people. And that'll get you a long way when things don't necessarily go the way they were supposed to.
What advice would you have people looking to work inside college athletics?
That would be some good advice kind of along those same lines, but also I think just be willing to try anything. If you had told me 20 years ago I would be doing this. I don't know that I would have thought that was the route I was going, but I think being open-minded and being willing to, try new things and just get involved wherever you can, I think opens a lot of doors that people, I didn't even know a job like this existed, to be honest. And so I'm one of those people that, like I said, I put a lot on my plate, but I also feel like I've had a really well-rounded grouping of experiences that have taught me a lot of things.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Minnesota Golden Gophers hat?
So our gophersports.com is kind of the University of Minnesota athletics page. Our team can be found there. I am old school, so I still have like Twitter, Facebook, all of that stuff, Instagram. J Christo, my maiden name was Christofferson, so JCHRISTO 14, I think is where I'm at on most of those, but I'm old. I always say I'm old. I'm 40 now, so I'm not super cool on social media.
Thank you again, Jessica Scott, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Minnesota Golden Gophers as the Director of Ice Hockey Operations.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jessica Scott, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.